very good day to my examiner, my panels, Dr. Madi and Ms. Daya. My name is Edwin Srijayatang, and I am a BBM student. My supervisor is Dr. Winnie. So today I will talk about my topic of the FYP, which is the factor influencing the commitment to change among the academician higher learning institution in Sibu. So for the chapter 1 introductions, I have the background of study, problem statements, research objectives, scope of study, and significance of study. So first one, background of research. Today, a fast-moving environment requires organizations to undergo all the changes constantly. So one change, everyone change. Change affects the organization work for, the cultures, the leaderships, and other similar issues such as the believing and the values as well as the behavior were challenged. So the resistance to change is the number one reason why the organizational change initiatives fail. So during the organizational change, why they fail, they don't want to change because people will feel very insecure about the organization. The futures for themselves, this feeling of self-efficacy is needed to overcome the situation during the organizational change. So next we talk about the problem statements. So why there's a problem here? And with an increased participation right from the start of the process of change is seen as a solution to the people's problem. But how does that relate to the information that not all the employees necessarily view that participation in a positive light or wish to involve themselves in organizational activities? Not all the employees can accept the changes. They just follow the changes. They didn't want to accept, but they just follow because the boss said they need to change. And then there's a little attention has been paid to the definition and measurement of the commitment within the change context, and there is virtually no empirical evidence to substantiate the claims made about its effect. And now we talk about the research objective. Firstly, the general objective. The general objective of the study is to identify the factors influencing the commitment to change among the academician in the higher learning institution in Sibu. The proposed factors are emotional intelligence, job satisfaction, and leadership behavior. The specific objective are as follows. Firstly, to identify the most significant factors that influence the commitment to change among the academic staff, which is the academician in the higher learning institutions. To investigate the relationship between the emotional intelligence, job satisfaction, and leadership behavior, as well as the commitment to change among the academician in higher learning institutions. Lastly, to explore the moderation effect, which I choose the gender, on the emotional intelligence, job satisfactions, and leadership behavior, as well as commitment to change among academician in higher learning institution. So we're talking about now, I'm talking about the scope of study. So firstly, to examine the influence between the IB, independent variables, on the commitment to change among academician, which is the dependent variables. Secondly, the areas of the questions research which selected will be determining the factors in this research study to enable an evident outcome that assists in scope of the areas of study in order to achieve the organization goals and objectives. The significance of the research, so the purpose of this study, this research, is to prove that the factors that influence the commitment to change of the academician in the higher learning institution in Sibu. So this study findings offers a foundation and a context of plan to have a successful change. So this research focus on the employees' commitment of change, the mechanism in the service industry to be implemented and improve of the learning process at the universities. So changes are very important for every organization because without change, for example, like in my case, the educations will lose the competitive edge and fail to meet the ever-changing needs of the academician. Chapter 2, Literature Review. So I've got a dependent variable, moderator variable, independent variable, and conceptual framework. So I'm talking about the firstly dependent variable. So commitment to change. Commitment to change can be described as the glue that provides the vital bond between the people and the change goals. So to be easy, commitment to change is the promise to change of a person. If there is an organizational change or there are changes made by the others, so they're willing to commit the changes, the promise to change or not. Now following will be the moderator variable, gender. Gender refers to the social attributes associated with being a male or female, learned through socializations, and determines a person's positions and value in a given context. So in this research, the moderator variable will be the gender. It's used to test whether it moderates the IVs, the relationship between the IV and DVs. Next will be the independent variable. So firstly, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is acknowledged as an array of non-cognitive capabilities, competencies, and skills that influence one's abilities to succeed in coping with environmental demands and pressure. So to be easy, emotional intelligence is the EQ. So in this research, we want to test whether that EQs, when organizational faces changes, and then the employees need to commit with the changes, so whether that their EQ is being impacted during the commitment of the changes. Next will be the job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is the extent to which one is happy with the job and hence an employee's willingness to perform at an optimal level. So it's very serious about it, because during the organizational change, whether this will test whether that the employee's job satisfaction is satisfied with the change made by the organization, and they're willing to perform or not during the changes. And then lastly will be the leadership behavior. Leadership behavior is a set of actions taken by the individuals in a position of power and influence to motivate, cultivate the others through the mechanism of empowerment, engagement, and collaborative assignment to meaningful work. So during the organizational change, so leadership is very important elements, because leaders who already assigned to the changes, whether they can attract them or motivate the followers of the academicians to really commit in their changes, or really promise to change or not. So leadership behavior is an element to test whether that there is a relationship in between the relationship of the academician, whether there is a relationship in between the leadership behavior and the commitment to change among the academicians in Sibu. So next will be the conceptual framework. So the IVs is on the left side, which is emotional intelligence, job satisfaction, and the leadership behavior. So the moderator will be in the middle, which is outside. Then the moderator will be the gender, and the dependent variable will be the commitment to change. So the measurement items are best selected based on these three perspectives, which is the affective, normative, and continuous perspective. So chapter 3, research methodology. So in research methodology, we discuss about the research design, data collection, target population, sample size, sampling technique, research instrument, scale measurement, and analysis of data. So first one, research design. So I'm using the quantitative research technique, and the data is generally gathered through the structured questions. Next will be the data collection. So I'm using primary sources, which I'm conducting surveys and also the direct observations, and secondary resources also due to the usage of the journal articles from the internet. The target populations is the academician in the Sibu town. So the sample size is 40 respondents. Sampling technique is the purposive samplings, because I'm choosing the academician to be my respondent. And then the research instrument will be the questionnaires. So questionnaire I divided into the two parts, the part A and part B. Part A involved the IVs, all the measurement items of the IV and the DVs. And part B, I included the demographic information of the respondents, such as gender, age category, ethnicity, highest education level, and their current positions. So, and then now the scale measurement, I'm using the 7 Likert scale, range from the 1 to 7. The 1 is the strongest disagree, 2 disagree, 3 slightly disagree, 4 neutral, 5 slightly agree, 6 agree, 7 strongly agree. So now will be the data analysis. I'm using the SPSS statistical package for social science version 22, and the data analysis method used is the reliability analysis used to test the convex alpha, Pearson correlation analysis to test whether there are any correlations, and multiple linear regression analysis to test the significance, and hierarchical regression analysis is to test the moderators whether there's any significance relationship too. And then chapter 4, findings and discussion, we got the reliability test analysis, Pearson correlation analysis, multiple regression analysis, hierarchical regression analysis, and summary of the hypothesis of the result. Firstly, the reliability test analysis. So the variables I have is the emotional intelligence, job satisfaction, leadership behavior, and the commitment to change. So the convex alpha here for emotional intelligence is 0.895, job satisfaction 0.896, leadership behavior 0.899, commitment to change 0.968. So as we can see that the commitment to change has the highest convex alpha among the others, which is 0.968, and the lowest will be the emotional intelligence with the convex alpha of 0.895. So all of the variables have a good internal consistency of value of the convex alpha, which is higher than the 0.8. So it shows that the variables are reliable in this research. Next will be the Pearson correlation analysis. The ID will be the emotional intelligence, job satisfaction, and leadership behavior. So DB will be the commitment to change. So the emotional intelligence will show there's a correlation with of 0.998 to the commitment to change, job satisfaction of 0.997, leadership behavior of 0.995 to the commitment to change. So there's a positive relationship between all the variables and commitment to change. The values of the emotional intelligence and job satisfaction and leadership behavior to commitment to change is 0.998, 0.997, 0.995, which shows that the variables are very highly correlated. So next will be the multiple linear regression analysis. So in this analysis, we're going to see the significance, which is the last column, located at the last column. And then firstly, we can see the emotional intelligence, which is have the significance of 0.000, and the jobs, which shows that is significance. And next will be the job satisfactions. We have a significant level of the 0.169, which is greater than 0.005 to be significance in the relationship. So it shows that it's insignificance. Same goes to the leadership behavior. We have the significance level of 0.028, which is more than 0.0005, which shows that it is not significant. So next will be the hierarchical regression analysis, the moderating effect of gender. So firstly, we'll see the first IV, which is the emotional intelligence. So to have a discussion on these findings, first we need to see the R square for the step 2 and step 3, and also the significant figure change for step 2, step 3. So R square and step 2, step 3 were both at 0.995. The interaction between the emotional intelligence and the gender moderator are also able to explain that 99.5% of the variance. Significant figure change values for step 2 and 3 are significant at below 5% significant levels, which were at 0.000, so that we can conclude that this result as a significance. So next will be the job satisfaction. So SAMS goes to job satisfactions. R square for step 2 and 3 are both at 0.994. So the interaction between the job satisfaction and gender are also able to explain 99.5% of the variance. In conclusion, that significant figure change value for step 2 and 3 are significant at below 5% of the significant level, which were at 0 and 0.000. So we can conclude that this result also has significance. So next we'll be going to the leadership behavior. So So R square at the step 2 and 3 were both at 0.989 and 0.99. So the interaction between the leadership behavior and gender are also able to be explained 99% of the variance. So significant change values for the step 2 and 3 are significant at below 5% of the significant level, which were at 0.000. So we can conclude that this result as significant as well. So in average, that we can conclude that the moderating effect of gender really moderates the IV to the DVs. So summary of the hypothesis. For hypothesis 1, emotional intelligence is significantly related to the commitment to change among the academician in Sibu town. So my findings is in this research is supported. So the second will be job satisfaction is significantly related to the commitment to change among the academician in Sibu town. So my finding is the insignificance, so not supported. The leadership behavior is significantly related to commitment to change among academician in Sibu town. So my findings is also insignificant, so not supported. So gender moderates the relationship between the emotional intelligence, job satisfaction, leadership behavior, and the commitment to change among the academician in Sibu town. So my finding is supported. So the findings here is maybe is being hard to like explain, and being some issues due to the collecting and disputing the questionnaires to the respondents due to the COVID-19. So the findings are maybe being affected. So in chapter 5, conclusion and recommendation. Summary of findings. Significance of science study, implication of study, limitations, recommendation, and lastly the conclusions. So chapter 5 here, summary of findings. So from the respondents demographic, so we're talking about the demographic, the part B of the profile respondent. So firstly, female, I have the 55% of the sample size female of the total respondent. Age category are between 26 to 30 years old, which is 25% of the sample size. So and following is the ethnicity. Chinese, for Chinese they are 35%, as well as goes to the others also 35%. So there are two modes here. So inside the others we got the Melanau, Iban, Bidayo, Sabahan, Dayak, Sebut Kenyah, and also the Pakistan's respondents. The education level, which the respondent about chosen master degree, which about 62.5% of the sample size, the respondent are the master degree. And for the lecturers, is the education level as around the 65% sample size of the total respondent, number of respondent are lecturers. And next we'll go to the significance of the study. So the research objective. First one, does emotional intelligence have an influence on the commitment to change among academician in higher learning institution in Sibu town? So hypothesis is that said that there is a significant relationship between the emotional intelligence and commitment to change among the academician in Sibu town. So the result here R is 0.98. There's a correlation, but the P is less than 0.005. So achieved in my research study. So second will be, does job satisfaction have an influence on the commitment to change among the academician in higher learning institution in Sibu town? So there is a significant relationship between the job satisfaction and commitment to change among academician in Sibu town. So my R value is the 0.997, and the P is greater than 0.005, which is not significant. So for the previous researcher result in 2017, there's also find that there is no significant relationship between the job satisfaction and the commitment to change. So maybe that the employees or the academicians are satisfied with the job satisfaction, satisfied with the jobs, and then there's no relationship between the changes. Even though they have changes, they're still satisfied with their jobs. And in this research, I'm not achieved the hypothesis. Next will be does leadership behavior have an influence on the commitment to change among academicians in Sibu town? Hypothesis: there is significant relationship between the leadership behavior and commitment to change among academicians in Sibu town. So R is 0.995, which is correlated, and P is greater than 0.005, which is insignificant for my result, for my findings, for my research. So it's not achieved. Same goes to the previous researchers Barrett in 1998. They shows that there's no relationship between the gender and between the relationship between the leadership behavior and the commitment to change, because that he said that there is the leaders have failed to attract the followers to commit the changes. And then lastly will be, does gender moderates the relationship between the emotional intelligence, job satisfaction, leadership behavior, and commitment to change among the academic in higher learning institution in Sibu town. So there is a significant relationship between the IVs and the DVs in the Sibu town. So the P is less than 0.005, so it's significance. So I achieved this hypothesis. So same goes to the researchers in Mehmet 2018, said that both male and female are really moderates the relationships. So next will be the implication of the study. So emotional intelligence and gender has a positive outcome on the commitment to change, but satisfaction and leadership behavior had a negative outcome, which is insignificance. Result on the reliability test analysis, Pearson correlation analysis, multiple relation analysis, profit, as well as go to the regression analysis. Limitations. So there are few limitations here. So firstly, we only this research only focus on the academician in Sibu town. So this is the first limitation. You can focus on the other towns also. Sample size is really low in sample size due to the COVID-19, because we're hardly able to reach to all the respondents and really try to prompt them doing the push them to answering the questionnaires. Third will be access to website of literatures, because some of the website literatures, the journals, they need to pay, so are hardly able to access to all the websites. The next will be recommendation for the future research. So including we must include the factors of variables other than the 3 variables that I have met in this research. We can include others such as the cultural factors, the behaviors, the values. So next will be the expanding in the sample size. So increase the sample size to the so that we can have a better results. Target bigger scope of location. So other than in Sibu, we can target the whole Sarawak, but it is harder, but the result is much more better. Conduct a qualitative research. So instead of using quantitative, this research can be also conduct as a qualitative research. We can conduct a survey, interview, face-to-face, so that we can notice that their reactions and their emotions, the body gestures, to show that they really are not paying attention in answering the research questions during the interviews, in-depth interviews. So we can also lastly conduct both qualitative and quantitative at the same time. We can conduct both qualitative because then we can comparing the result, whether there's tally that there is the result of the research. Conclusion: commitment to change is very important in an organizational management system, where organization can make a great impact and sustain in an ever-changing environment. Exploring the factors of influencing the commitment to change will enhance the organization readiness and also human resource management, as well as the employee diversity is nowadays very high working environment, so thus improving the key performance, the KPI of the organizations. So that's all. This is the reference that I used in the slides, and that's all for me. Thank you.